Hey there. Hi. What are you doing? It is Tuesday. I keep feeling like it's Monday though. What's up? I am back in the south of France. Have you missed me? Show me some love if you're out there checking in on a Tuesday. Yeah, we had a holiday, right? So I promised to jump on and go live with you so that I would stay in contact and in connection. Love in the hearts. Hey, what's up? Am I right side up this time? I am on the iPad again, mainly because it's easier to walk around the house. So, hey, Johan, how are you? And Leslie, what's up? I was just talking about you a little while ago, Leslie. Talking about the new dentist in my life. Oh, it's good to be back home. You know, after a big production or a big speaking engagement, sometimes even just a big client engagement, it's like you're kind of sad when it's over, but then there's like relief. I just feel good to return home and be in my own zone. So I would love if you know anybody out there who is struggling with getting paid what they're worth. I got a lot of interesting comments after being in London with Gary Vaynerchuk. And did you see that yesterday I was featured on the Gary V show? That was kind of cool. So hello, Helena. Good to see you again. Just saw you 5 minutes ago. But it was crazy because here I am, video bombing Gary Vaynerchuk before he took to the stage. We were both speaking at Expert Empires and helping people, tap into their business genius and rock it. And a lot of people came in just for this event. And there was this buzz. People were talking about how, these internet famous and celebrities of the moment are charging $100K just for, a couple hours of insight, education. So I wanted to talk about it because this is, I know if you've ever tuned in to any of my Facebook rants, I have dealt with this issue before. And that's mainly because I work with a lot of coaches. Sorry for the dragging noise. I work with a lot of coaches and healers. And many of these coaches and healers find it really challenging to charge money or accept money or to ask for money. And it's funny because once you start working in the media where you see people getting paid inordinate amounts of money, it brings up this question about how do you place a value on life or on time? So if you know anyone who is dealing with this, then would you share this with them? Hello, Sonia. Hello from London. I'm loving the little red heels, the little red pumps. Share this with somebody that you know that needs to have that conversation, because it runs through everyone. So I was doing this event, speaking there in London. Gary V comes in, last section of this conference, last section of the day. There was huge hype. For those of you who don't know who Gary Vaynerchuk is, he's this guy who made his money or his initial fortune by building up a wine business. And, Gary was on stage saying, look, I worked my ass off. He's like every Saturday in his 20s, he was at the wine shop. So it wasn't a glamorous rise to fame. He was seriously hustling. Hello, Leslie. She says, money is energy. That's right. So how do you define money and how do you place the value on it, right? So if you think about it, most people think about supply and demand, right? So if you're selling something, here's a perfect example. My daughter and I are vegan, and here in the south of France, it's sometimes tricky to find a lot of good vegan stuff, and especially chocolate. So we have been on the lookout trying to find the best vegan chocolates. And my daughter was like, why is the price of a vegan chocolate bar like quadruple the other cost? You know, is it really that much more costly to use all these holistic organic ingredients? I don't know. But the thing that she said when we were buying this last batch of chocolate bars, she said, you know what, in a couple of years, it won't be like this. And I'm like, what are you talking about? She said, in a couple of years, think about it, Mom, so many more people will be vegan that it won't be a rarity. Like, she's already got the concept of supply and demand. Hello, KO'd. KOD. Yes, you're vegan too? What's up, PV? So the thing is, last month, my daughter was making some little vegan treats, as she's wont to do in the kitchen. And she made these little oatmeal, they weren't exactly cookies, they were kind of like bars. And I said, oh my God, these are so good. What'd you put in them? And of course, it's all healthy stuff, delicious. She used banana to make them sweet, so not a bunch of sugar. They were yummy. And she's like, okay, should I add this to the list of things that I could make again? I said, absolutely, I love these. Now, she's not a fan of oatmeal cookies. She's not going to do it every single week. But she asked me this. She said, Mom, are you saying that you would actually pay for these cookies? And I said, yes. Yes, I would. Because in the afternoon, when you want like a little sweet treat, I like something healthy, and it's not easy to find vegan treats here. She said, oh, how much would you pay me to make those cookies for you? So I'm like, well, I don't know, a couple euros. She's like, really? You would pay me that much? And I said, yeah, why are you surprised? She said, because it's actually a pleasure for me. So this is the question. Do you price based on your pleasure or pain, or what the market will demand? The reason I'm asking is because, guess what? Yesterday, I'm right here in my kitchen. Let me show you. Check those babies out. Yesterday afternoon, my daughter comes to me, and she says, Mom, I think I'm going to make, I feel like baking. You know, it was a holiday yesterday. She said, I feel like baking. I said, cool. She said, remind me again, how much would you pay me to make those vegan oatmeal bar thingies? And I'm like, I don't remember what price I told you. She said, well, is it worth 3 euros to you? And I was like, wait a minute, now wait, I could go back and play this conversation again. Oh, I see hearts flying. You're on the side of my daughter. So here's what she said. She said, well, look, I thought about it, Mom. You told me that you could price your services or products based on what the market would pay. So I'm like, yeah, hey Taz, how are you? I was just talking about you too. So my daughter says, you told me that I could price based on what the market will pay and not price it based on what the cost is to me, okay? So here's the deal. Normally, how do people price themselves? They think about the pain or what they're putting into something, like, oh, if I'm going to sit in a room with these kind of executives for this number of hours, it's worth, 300 euros an hour, whatever. But that's flawed, because then you're based on pain and you're putting in negative energy. She said, I would do it for free, Mom, just because I love to bake. But she said, if you're telling me you'll pay me 3 euros to actually do something I love, great. She said, but the reason I raised my price is because I know you want them. And it's a holiday. You're not going to go out to the store and get some treat. Yeah, that's why I got these little delicious vegan treats. So she had already learned this whole supply and demand thing. So that brings me back to my conversation about Gary Vaynerchuk. So Taz, you were there with us. Helena, you were there. You were with me and Gary V. What's up, Robin, from the US of A? So here's the deal. So people said, what? People like Gary Vaynerchuk can be at an event for just a few hours and get over $100,000, what gives? And let's be clear, Gary Vee said on stage, look, I recognize that attention is what people pay for. He recognized that people flew in to this event. People flew in to London just to get a potential selfie with Gary Vee. Like the opening day, there was a guy who said it point blank. I don't care about all these little business building workshops. I'm here to get a picture. So why is that? Why would someone spend money, beg, borrow, steal, fly on a plane just to see someone? Would you do it? Have you ever flown anywhere for any other celebrity or thing? Why do we do it? Why do we do it? Because one, according to Gary Vee, he's like, people like to be able to post their life on Instagram or social media. And so posting up a picture of you and Gary Vee, what does that bring you? Like, what is the value to you? And in his, other work life, think about it. By Gary Vee being a headliner, and yes, some people would say that maybe I was a draw as well for the women who wanted to balance out the testosterone. If we can be on stage or put up on someone's website or on a brochure, and people are going to fly in and pay good money for these tickets, and hey, I had some of my clients and friends fly in from, I think, 4 different countries just to be at this event with me. What is that doing? For the organizer is making money off of that. So paying $100K and all these other speaker fees is totally reasonable if they know they're going to recoup that. It's the same thing in television, right? We know that advertisers will pay top dollar to get in front of eyeballs. And yes, Taz, I did want a selfie with you. And we got several. So the reason I keep bringing it up is because I can't believe how many people were shocked. Like they were shocked and they felt like it's just wrong or just not right. But the thing I also want to talk to my healers and coaches about is what about the value that you provide? So you would fly to an event and see one of these headliners. What's the value of that to you? Okay, so you get a selfie with them. Is that going to help you charge more money? Does it, you get that little hit of the halo effect. Like, oh, I'm famous because I'm next to a famous person. But how does that translate to value in your life? And the reason I ask it is because a very dear friend of mine, Deiss Llewellyn Davies, flew in here and we were shooting right here. So you'll recognize this set when the videos come out next month. So we spent an entire day shooting a brand new series. And we started talking yesterday about the cost. So we have this entire module. I can't tell you what it's about, but you'll find out soon enough. We created this entire course with multiple modules. And then it was like, wow, if you were to try to hire us, if you were to have me and Deiss sit down with you for an entire day to map out a strategy for you living a better life. So I'm talking health, physical health, emotional health, relationships, plus business. The value of that, or at least the cost of that, I should say, the cost of that, would it be at least $10,000 for a day for both of us here, right? So we started to ask, but what's the value of a life? Like, if I advise you on a way to lower your blood pressure and get off of blood pressure medicine, that seems pretty valuable, right? Like for me in my wellness center, people, mainly bean counters, I love all the accountants out there, thank you. They could actually tally up how much a person is going to save personally. So by not being on high blood pressure medications, they save money. By not potentially having a heart attack or stroke, it saves the company $150,000 just for the rehab if someone were to go to a hospital and live. Don't even talk to me about the death, right? But then there's this other value. So one of my patients said, to me, paying a few $1,000s for this course was way worth it, because not only did her husband lose weight, and so she was like, and he looks better, but he also got off of his medications, and it means that he is more likely to be alive longer. So she was just grateful that she could get rid of the fear and the dread and the worry that her husband might die or become disabled. So it's pretty easy when you think about healthcare, right? If you think about going to a cardiothoracic surgeon, they earn more money than just a general practitioner or a pediatrician. But why is that? I mean, a pediatrician is taking care of these precious little babies, these little lives that some people go to great lengths to become parents. And yet, pediatricians are the lowest paid in all of the medical professions. It really makes you start to think, like, how are we placing our value? If a business advisor comes in and then explains to you how you're going to 10x or 100x your revenues that year, if you paid him 10 grand for that, is it worth it? Well, I had a conversation with someone named Anders, and sorry guys, I got to get some water. I was talking to Anders Haglund. So for any of you that were with me back in November, I had a conversation with Anders Haglund, who is this peak performance coach, you know, serious coach to big time CEOs, billionaires, and peak performance athletes, right? And one of the things that Anders said was, it's about leverage. So, for example, you could be really, I don't know, let's say you're an expensive consultant or a coach, right? That working with you costs $100K per year. Now, if you happen to be in a business where you can take that knowledge from your coach or your mentor and then turn it into $1 million, that 100K is just an easy peasy investment, like it's a no-brainer. So what Anders was explaining was, it's about leverage. So a lot of people may come to me and say, I want to publish a book, or I want to get on TV, I'm ready. But they don't have the sort of platform in place, or they don't have the back end, whether it's a coaching program or other products in place. So spending money to come in and get branded or get on TV, they're not going to be able to leverage that and turn it into more money. So to some, the cost means very little, and to others it means more. Is this making sense? It's not like I just want to sit around and talk about money, but after the Gary Vee experience, I thought, you know, at the end of the day, the inspiration that some people walked away from, you know, being there with Gary Vee, cursing at you, getting in your face, like a lot of people love that, and I love getting inspired at events. I was inspired just pouring out, you know, my energy. But I don't know, it just comes back to this question about people having doubts about their worth. For example, another friend of mine was saying she was doing errands. She was running errands for people in Monaco. But at first it was just sort of a friend. It was like, oh, you don't want to stand in line at the post office? No problem. I'm walking past there. I don't mind. So she ends up doing errands. Pretty soon, this friend is calling her every day or every other day, like, oh, are you going by the pharmacy? Oh, are you going by the grocery store? Now, those are just little trivial things. But when she turned around and said, you know what? I've decided to create a business. You know, I'm going to do a little concierge service where I can run errands and do things for people. And I mean, it does cost some time and some money and effort, so I'd like to be paid for it. And guess what the friend said? I'm not going to pay you for that. And I'm like, whoa. And she went into this whole tailspin of doubt, like, am I not worth it? Or, you know, how dare she? Like, how do you, you know, justify that when someone doesn't want to pay you what you feel that you're worth? And I said, think about it another way. If she were to have to go and spend 45 minutes in the post office, then there has to be a cost associated to her that she's getting some benefit out of it, right? Is anybody else with me on this? Because you guys have gone awfully quiet and silent. Hey, Anya, it's good to see you. It was lovely to see you in London as well. So I just wonder, because it reminded me of this other story, and you've probably heard this. Hey, Huguette, how are you? Good to see you too. So yes, and I guess you get it, Leslie. Like, how is it that people will go and nickel and dime, someone who's in a service business, like, I don't know, someone who would run errands, but you would never go into a dentist and say, hey, that root canal, I don't want to pay you $500. Come on, let's do it for $250. Why? Because the other element is you're paying based on their experience and expertise, right? Yes, hey, Kim, I'm glad you're there. And it's lovely to see you too. So imagine then, you've heard of this story about, the refrigerator repairman who charged $100 to fix the refrigerator. So this woman has a refrigerator that's not working, and she calls up a repairman who comes over, takes a look in the refrigerator, looks behind the refrigerator, reaches into his toolbox, and takes out a hammer. Whacks the hammer on top of the refrigerator, and bzzz, it starts working again. Pulls out a piece of paper and hands it to her. Says it's $100. And she's like, what gives? You didn't do anything. All you did was hit it with a hammer, no less. And he says, well, you're paying for my expertise. First, I was able to diagnose the problem, and two, I knew exactly where to hit it. Okay, it's a silly example, but so often we don't realize that there is a certain amount of expertise that we pay for. So as Gary Vee was talking about, he mentioned that he could charge someone $150,000 to create an advertising campaign, but it's based on his little ninja knowledge of exactly where to place those ads and his understanding of social media and Instagram. Not everybody gets that. Yep, and that's right, Shanti. You have to know where to hit it. So that was just my little takeaway. I definitely have had these moments where the cost conversation, think about, yes, Leslie, many people count the time and not the results. Yeah, absolutely. Like, how much time do you need to become inspired? How much time do you need to save a life? If you save somebody's life, but it only took you a minute, is that worth less? How do you place a value on that? For me, it was always funny because when I was working at Discovery Channel, as the medical director and spokesperson, here I am on TV every day, anchoring the news and explaining health stuff, and speaking on stages all around America, explaining how to live better, how to reduce disease, how to prevent disease, right? Like, in my mind at the time, I thought, this is really valuable. Like, there are a lot of people who are doing better based on this knowledge. And then, Kim, you're in DC. I don't know if you remember at Discovery Channel, at Discovery Health Channel, my network that I was on, a couple years into my time working for Discovery, we had these sisters who came to work with us, Laura and Jennifer Berman. Do you remember them? So the Berman sisters, who were fabulous and still are, so the Berman sisters wrote a book together called For Women Only. One of the Bermans is a sex and family therapist, and the other one is a urologist. And so they were on our network, Discovery Health Channel, hosting a show. It was the first time we'd had like a really sexy show in prime time. And it was cool because it was getting a lot of attention. And so it's funny because I had been on the network for over a year and a half. They pop in, do a show on sex, release a book, and within months, they're on the cover of Cosmo, they're in People magazine. And I'm like, dang, what gives? I'm giving you information that can prevent Alzheimer's, cancer, reverse diabetes. They come in and talk about sex, the ratings go through the roof, and they're on the cover of magazines, right? No hate. I had to observe, like, wow, isn't it interesting the value that we place on things? That might be why I eventually did go ahead and publish a book on sex, for those of you who didn't know it. Have to do a shameless plug. The Orgasm Prescription for Women. No, I didn't do it for that reason. I did this because there was so much demand for it. It's one of those things where I finally caved in after women were explaining that, seeing me on the Dr. Oz show, talking about the 3 orgasm per week prescription, they were like freaked out. Hey, why can't I achieve it? And I'm happy to say that just a few years later, here we are on the cover of Red magazine, 21 Days to Better Orgasms. That's right, my book made the cover of Red. Leslie, you've already read it? Wow. And Nicola, yes, hello. Lovely to have seen you as well in London. So that's my rant for the day. I just really want you to think about the value that you place on your own life, your own time, and just being willing to have these kinds of conversations. I can't tell you how many of my coaches I get frustrated with, and I'm not going to call out any names. Don't worry, you're safe. But these people who tell me, oh my God, Andrea, I just did another free session, and yes, she came back and she told me that it totally changed her life and it rocked her world. And when I was talking to this woman, I said, how many other therapists had she been to before you? She was like, oh my God, at least 8. How many other books had she read to try to get rid of this problem? She's like, oh my God, at least 20, 30. How many other drugs or medications has she tried to get rid of this problem? She's like, oh my God, I can't even count it. And she said she almost ended up in the hospital due to complications. And I said, now this woman, I don't know what her financial situation is now, but this woman had already spent many, many thousands, probably over tens of thousands of dollars, dealing with this health and emotional issue, which had now affected her physical health, her mental health, and her relationships. And I said, and now you, with your wisdom, your insight, and your skill, you're adding tremendous value to her. Like the pain issue is gone. Her sex life is better. Her mental health is better. She can finally sleep at night. And you're telling me you have an issue receiving money and asking for money for that. So I'm not saying that all of my coaches have to go out there and become, 6-figure coaches, and these healers have to go and say, oh, I'm now charging 10 grand an hour. That is not the point. But when you yourself are struggling to pay your bills because you won't take money for the gifts that you have, that ain't helping nobody. Because then you're putting stress on yourself, stress on your children. I mean, the whole system is messed up. As Leslie pointed out just a little while ago, money represents energy. It represents value. It's just an energy exchange. We have got it so twisted in our minds to think that money is bad or wrong or evil, or that just because you're spiritual, you shouldn't charge money, or just because your gifts have come in your mind from the divine, that you shouldn't charge money. It's okay if you went for 13 years of schooling, and how many hours did I spend in the hospital? Oh, it's okay. We can recognize that if you went to all that schooling, sure, we should pay you that much. But if it's based on my own gifts and talents, so people got it twisted. That's all I can say. People have got it twisted. And I hope that that's not you. I'm just calling it out, because we are meant to live in an abundant world and an abundant lifestyle, okay? We're meant to have that, which means there's an energy exchange. You're always going to be giving and you're always going to be receiving. We cannot exist independently. No man is an island, as it is said. So even though there are some of us, myself included, that love being alone, I couldn't exist alone. Even if I was farming the land here, I still need people. And there's an energy and a flow. All right, so I'm going to get off of that. My next question for you all is this. I need a name for my Facebook show. So I hadn't wanted to do it, but I've been doing this course with Stephanie, Hayes Stephanie, as she's called, with her Captivate, Convince, Convert course. Hey, Karan, baby, how you doing? Yes, and also hanging out with Jesse Dubec. Jesse and I were in Alicante, Spain, speaking 2 weeks ago, and he came and popped over to see me in London. And I haven't been structuring my Facebook rants, if you've seen any of them. I just like to go on whatever's under my craw or whatever. But I do recognize that some of you have asked questions, and if you have questions, pop them in, and I'm happy to answer. And some of you have actually felt inspired, and that touches me. You felt love and inspiration, because that's all I'm sending out to you is love and inspiration. It's always done with love, the utmost. So I want to do this on a more regular basis. Is that interesting to you? Does anybody want that? Would you tune in? Come on. Crickets. So the question is, would you tune in? What do you get out of these rants? Is it just the love and the inspiration? Is it just breaking up the monotony of the day? If you were to give this show a title, what would it be? Yes, why not, says James Walker. So I'm curious, what do you get out of it? What would you name it? I would love it if you'd chime in the comments. Because Stephanie, what is it, Lights, Camera, oh gosh, she's going to kill me when she sees this. Camera Action Live. Oh my God, I can't remember the name of her show. A little overwhelmed here. But she has a show, and she's very good about doing it, obviously, on the regular and interviewing people, which is cool because I can also interview people on Facebook Live. It doesn't just have to be me ranting, which I've already been doing if you've been catching any of my podcasts anywhere else. So, solutions, says Kim Brantley. Leslie says, the Andrea Pennington Show. So, hey, I feel like it should have in the title what you get out of it, right? Like, although I guess, you know, Gary V, although he's getting to be a household name among people on the interwebs, the Gary V and Gary V Daily. The Rantington Show. I love it, because that's what I love to do. Whip your hair back and forth. Yeah. Well, I don't whip my hair quite as much as I probably could or should, but I definitely feel like it's about love and inspiration. It's about being human, as Charles Purcell wrote to me recently. What's up with Doc? The rant race. That's cute too. Well, mostly for those of you that are just tuning in, I am generally about love, spirituality, self-love, creative self-expression. A lot of the work I do is for entrepreneurs, my healers, light workers, coaches, mentors, people who are up to big things in the world. A lot of stuff I do is, of course, based on personal branding and helping you leverage the media to get your message out there. So there's going to be businessy stuff. Fierce and free for life. Dun, dun, dun. I like that, Kim. And you know me. We've spent so many hours together when I was in Maryland. Fierce and free for life. Yeah, well, that's me. That pretty much describes me. And it's definitely what I want for my audience. I want you to feel fierce and bold and definitely free. Free to live the life that feels good to you, that feels aligned with your calling. So I would love to hear from you on that. The last little thing, and I shouldn't have saved it for last. I'll have another show about this. I am co-host for a radio show in America. Well, it's global. It's on the network called America Out Loud. Passionately Pennington, says Dave. Is that Dave from Detroit, right? The homeboy. Anyway, yes, America Out Loud. I am the co-host of a show called Life, Liberty, and the Pursuit of Pleasure. And it's hosted by this guy named Malcolm Out Loud. And there are 10 of us. Well, there are 9 co-hosts, and we are looking for a 10th co-host, preferably a millennial. So I just threw it out there to Malcolm to maybe have a contest, to have some people audition, see if they're ready to go global on a global platform. And some of the hosts, my friends that are on this network, have gone from getting 10,000 downloads a month per show, to 30,000 downloads per show. So again, when we were talking about price and money before, think about it. If you have a show that's in demand, that's getting the attention, in this case it's ears and not eyeballs, imagine if you were on a network where your podcast or your radio appearances were now getting 10,000 downloads. That means that you could reliably charge advertisers. Oh, it comes back to charging for attention. Yes, Karan, I know you want it, girl. You're a seasoned professional. And honey, let me tell you, I will put the link out there. You should listen to some of these shows that I've been on. It's crazy because since I'm in France, let me look at the time. Since I'm in France, I'm generally shooting around, I don't know, I guess 9 or 10 or 11 for people in America. But by then, you notice what happens to me around 3 or 4 o'clock. I'm punchy. I'm in rant mode. I've already done all my good work for the day. I've seen my clients. I've done my recordings for my own shows. And then, you guys are crazy. You guys are killing me. Helena and James, I'll get back to you. Pennington's Pleasurings. That's a dangerous one. So by the time I get on this show with Malcolm and these other co-hosts, I'm like fired up. Like, do you really look at your day and how your energy level changes? For me, by this time of day, I'm feeling a little saucy, feeling a little spicy. I might be tired and I might be a little ornery. So I've been on these shows on life, liberty, and the pursuit of pleasure. And we were talking about, of course, sex at one point for one of the shows. And they paired me up with this very religious woman. And y'all know I'm the most spiritual person you probably know. But she went after me. I mean, talking about, or because I've written a book called The Orgasm Prescription, she's like, what are you telling young girls? That they should just hold out for good orgasms and they should just have, I'm like, what? No, my book is completely spiritual and absolutely not. I would never tell a girl to go out there and be like, sex was not good. Next. Anyway, that's just one random example. But we've talked about religion. We've talked about reincarnation. In one of last week's show, it was really, really sensitive because we talked about suicide. One of the radio personalities, a woman who has written books, spoken around the world, completed 2 Ironmans. You just never know what's going on inside of someone. She committed suicide a few months ago, and it left a huge hole in the lives of many, many people. So we chop it up on this show. We go into a lot of different territory, and yeah, it's a little spicy. And yes, Karan, and yes, you, Helena, you're not millennials, but you would probably hold court with Malcolm and his harem. So I will post about that. It's called Life, Liberty, and the Pursuit of Pleasure. It's on America Out Loud. It streams as a radio platform, and then each episode is then released later as a podcast. And yeah, so it's been hugely popular. So that's all I have for today. If you have ideas for the name of my Facebook Live show, I will be broadcasting to you at least twice a week. Generally, it's going to be around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, France time, or France and Danish time, which is, 3 in the UK, 2 for my Icelandic people right about now, and 9 a.m. on the East Coast of the U.S., 6 a.m. for my peeps in the Pacific time zone. So anyway, if you have ideas, I don't know, what was it, James, you'd put in there Pennington's Pleasure Rings. Ooh, that one is pretty spicy. That one would probably be for my other network, sensualvitality.tv, where we can talk about, sex and all that good stuff. I do tend to separate the stuff that gets racy. Sex is a part of life. Sex is meant to be good. We are meant to have it all the way into our 7th, 8th decades and beyond. So I have no qualms about it. But for some of these spicier, saucier, kinkier stuff for some of the guests that I interview. You can find that at sensualvitality.tv. And yes, Melvin, I will post links so that you can check out some of the things that I've been talking about. So there you have it, my friends. I'm going to sign off because I have to go get my daughter from school. And I am super excited to hear from you, what you've taken away from this episode. Please comment below, like it, share it, distribute it around the world. If anything comes to you as an epiphany while you're in the shower or when you wake up for a show title, send it my way. I'm really interested to hear what you get out of this. And don't just say that, well, you can say whatever you want. Tell me what you get out of this show, out of my rants. And do you think, here's the last question, do you think it will taint it if I have like a show title and a focus? Or do you think it'll still be as fun to tune in for my rants? So yes, Kim, please do email me some names. And yes, Karan, I will post the audition info. Oh my gosh, I think we might be inundated with people who want to be a co-host on our radio show. I would love it. I love working with fabulous new talent. So I wish you all a fabulous rest of the day. If you have anything else, just send me a message. Much love to you. Bye. Yay.